Greetings gamers and welcome to a brand new Video Game Memories episode here on the Retro Raider Show. That's right, today I'm going to make another episode on one of my favorite series here on the channel. And I think that it has been a while since I did a Video Game Memories episode. And for you guys that don't know my channel, well, in this segment I talk exactly about that. I share memories with certain video games, with certain, consoles or systems, with certain franchises, because for me this is really the best part of this hobby. Of course that, as you guys can see, I love to collect these old school vintage video games and I love to play them, of course, but for me the memories, it's what really makes a collection special, right? It's what differentiates, this for just being a piece of plastic or cardboard and something that has a meaning. But today's Video Game Memories episode is not going to be about a memory of mine. I'm actually going to share a video game memory, a story from a viewer here from the channel. So let's start from the beginning. A couple of weeks ago, I uploaded a video here on the channel where I was reviewing some retro gaming cables, right? Some cables from Gaming Fun 80. I have one right here, right? This one is for the Super Nintendo. And on that video, I just shot the video, straight at the TV, right? At a CRT. And I mentioned on the video that I didn't have any means to capture gameplay footage, from SCART to my capture card, to my Elgato. So then I was contacted on Facebook by a guy called Bruno Alves, right? And I immediately knew who this guy was. Fellow subscriber here on the channel, his nickname is B. Alves, and he has been, subscribed to my channel almost from the very beginning, I think. And this guy just leaves the best comments on the comment section. I can tell that he's very passionate about video games, very passionate about RPGs like me, and he's really into it, right? This guy likes to share, stories. And like I always said, again, this is what the community is all about. It's all about communication. So he got in contact with me and he told me that he had a device, like, a converter from, SCART to HDMI that he used for, for a project, I believe. And he didn't have any use for it anymore. And he was wondering if he could, send it to me. And I accepted. I think it was a very cool and generous donation here for the channel. I actually have the device right here. It's this one, SCART to HDMI converter. And he told me that this was not the best thing ever. He didn't have any use for it anymore. And, in the future, I will probably make a video on it. But the thing was that, and this is why I'm talking about Bruno and this converter right here. It's because when I opened the package, right, this was not the only thing on it. He also sent me this, and this caught me totally off guard. I immediately knew what this was. And yeah, it's Final Fantasy VII for the PlayStation 1, the original Japanese release. I entered in contact with him. He asked me, well, did you receive the converter? And I said, well, I did, and I also got this right here. I got a original Final Fantasy VII Japanese release. And he said, well, this was a surprise for you. I know that you're a Final Fantasy VII fan, and I know that this is going to a good home. And it is true, I'm a big Final Fantasy VII fan. Final Fantasy VII, the original that I have right here, this was my very first contact with the series, with Final Fantasy. This was probably the very first JRPG that I ever played, so I love this game. As a matter of fact, I love this game so much that I also have right here on the twin pack for the Nintendo Switch. Of course that I have the deluxe edition of the remake for the PlayStation 4. I even have this on the collection. I have the, homebrew version of the demake of Final Fantasy VII for the NES. So he knows that I have these, right? And I thought that, well, maybe he thought that I was looking for the original one, but the thing was that this was not the only thing that he sent me with Final Fantasy VII, the original one. What he sent me with this game was the story in how he got this game. It's a simple story, but it's one that I want to share with you. So he told me that almost 2 years ago, late 2019, a friend of his went to Japan and asked him if he wanted anything from there. Now, if you are a gamer, especially if you are a JRPG fan, if you have a friend that somehow is going to Japan or if lives there, or if you have any means to import anything from there, Japan is pretty much the mecca for video games in general. So of course that Bruno, smart guy, he asked his friend if he could bring a couple of items for him from Japan. One of the things he asked his friend was if his friend could go past by a Pokemon Center and bring him a plush of his favorite Pokemon, which I believe it is Wartortle. My starter is always a water type Pokemon, Squirtle all the way, Wartortle, awesome Pokemon. And Bruno is also a huge Kingdom Hearts fan like me, and he asked for a couple of versions of Final Fantasy. I believe it was Final Mix of Kingdom Hearts 1 and also the Final Mix of Kingdom Hearts 2 and also Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. And Bruno told me that this was kinda his gateway for his, Japanese video game collection, right? And me personally, I'm also a huge fan of the original versions, especially on the Super Famicom, because these are indeed the original versions. These are the ground zero of these video games. In my opinion, it has a story, it has a cultural meaning to it, not just because it is from Japan, but also, a pop culture story to it, if you will. For example, I love Chrono Trigger, right? I have the Super Famicom version. Was never released here in the PAL region, but for example, I wouldn't trade my Chrono Trigger, my original Super Chrono Trigger for the Super Famicom, for the NTSC version. I just wouldn't. I don't speak Japanese, that is okay. I can always play those cards on my Retron 5 with a translation patch, or just play the ROMs, right? But it's that thing, I have the original thing. I have this, I have the original right here on my hand. So his friend hunt down a couple of these games. Another game that I know that Bruno wants is the Persona 4 Golden. Anyhow, his friend hunt down Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix and also Birth by Sleep Final Mix and the plush, the Wartortle plush. And get this, in euros, for these 3 items, he paid 12 euros. Another very cool thing about Japanese video games, right? They're cheap. They're cheap and they're everywhere. Role-playing games in Japan is like, sports games here in Europe, right? It's everywhere. 12 euros, that is a hell of a deal. I think that Kingdom Hearts, the original one alone, Kingdom Hearts 1 for the PS2, this is like a 15 euro game, I believe. So Bruno, smart move. So taking into account that these were cheap, Bruno asked him for a couple of more items, like Final Fantasy VII International and also Crisis Core. But I think that the problem here was that, his friend is also a collector, and those specific 2 items were on his wish list. And he found them, right? In a couple of stores. I have the name of the stores right here. I believe it was Super Potato and Bukov. But of course that his friend kept those items for himself, for his personal collection. Now, the last day of his trip, when he was going back to Portugal, right? He passed through a store, like a used store, a pawn shop, I believe. And he found this version right here of Final Fantasy VII. Yep, this version right here. Final Fantasy VII. 3 discs, right here. Do we have the 3 discs? Have one right here, right? The other 2 discs right here, complete. And of course, let's not forget the manual and the extra goodies. And it still has the price tag, right? 100 yen right here. Now, 100 yen in euros, I believe it's something around 85 cents. 85 cents. US dollars, I could be wrong, but it's like $1. So why was this so cheap? Was it because they were just, getting rid of it? No. It's because the box right here has some cracks on it, right? We have a couple of here and another small one right there. Again, I believe that this is a cultural thing. It's very common in Japanese video games. Everything is just mint, right? And they're super fair with the prices. Even if you go on eBay, like if you're looking for a specific game, like a Japanese game, and if the buyer is in Japan, usually the prices are similar, right? So I guess that the people from the store guessed, well, this is broken, even though the games work. The discs were tested, right? But since we have these cracks right here, we are not going to ask for the full price. But I mean, 85 cents, 100 yen. So his friend picked it up, just for the price and gave it to Bruno, right? And Bruno said that this is not the version that he was looking for, right? He was looking for the international version. But he kept it and sent it to me as a gift. So, I mean, yeah, all the way from the land of the rising sun, Final Fantasy VII, the original version, from Japan to Portugal, with a beautiful, awesome story. So Bruno wanted me to have this because, again, he knows that I'm a huge fan of the series, I'm a huge fan of Final Fantasy VII, and, he knew that I would appreciate the story. Now, Brun said that, well, you can totally, replace the box, just find another jewel box and replace it. And I said to him, and I'm saying right now on camera, I'm not going to do that. I'm not. I think that would just, lose the value of the game. Lose the value in the sense of not the monetary value, 100 yen, not that, the value of the story. And that is what I want to preserve here, right? It's not just the games. It's not just the games. It's not just for the fact that it is a Final Fantasy VII game. It is not just for the fact that it is an original Japanese release of Final Fantasy VII, or it is complete or everything. And everything is pretty much mint, right? Aside from the cracks. But the cracks are part of the story, right? And that's what I want to preserve right here, is the story with this specific game, with this specific copy. So Bruno, my friend, I already talked to you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this amazing donation, for this amazing game that we all love. We all love Final Fantasy VII, JRPG fans, Final Fantasy fans. Also, thank you so much for this adapter right here. And last but not least, and this is definitely the most important part, thank you so much for the story that you shared, and for giving me the opportunity to share this story with everybody. So guys, thank you so much for watching this different episode of Video Game Memories, and let me know down below. Please share down on the comment section if you have a memory with Final Fantasy VII. It doesn't matter if it is the original one, one of the remakes, or even the demaster on the NES. If you have a memory with this game, please share it down below. Once again, a huge shout out to Brun Walsh, my friend. Thank you so very much. And yeah, this concludes the video, guys. So as always, take care of yourselves, take care of the gaming community, and game a lot.